It's Lost in Translation.
It's Lost in Translation.
I've never watched the movie, but
Me neither.
you know that's Francis Ford Coppola's daughter,
I know.
Sophia Coppola.
I'm aware.
Some people don't like her.
Why not?
I think one person told me they didn't like her.
Some people, man.
Some people definitely probably don't like her.
A lot of people. I mean, everybody doesn't like something.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of one though for me.
That you dislike. I think you have more dislikes than you have likes.
That's not true. I love movies.
Like 5% of movies.
Not 5%.
Maybe 20. On a good day, 20.
On a good day, I just like good movies.
But your bar is super high, so it leaves out most movies.
Well, what do you think I'm trying to make?
I don't know.
I'm trying to make
I
that
don't think
shit.
it's not even a bar. I just don't think it's a linear thing that you can measure. So it's not a bar.
I just see the craft in it, and I'm just like, oh, that's why that movie's good. And I'm like, I love that movie.
Yeah, but you don't watch new movies.
Yeah,
That's why I mean like a small percentage.
Well, most of the movies I watch,
Because it's an exponential growth.
are like the old ones.
Yeah.
And most of those, when you watch interviews with those filmmakers, storytellers, they have a great respect and deal for the audience. Like Spielberg, all he talks about the audience. Hitchcock, he's like, this is how you get an audience to care about. They'll just tell you. I'm like, thanks, bro. I write that stuff down. Other filmmakers too. Capra talked about it. These great filmmakers. Oscar-winning. Really great craftsmen. They talk about the audience. Nowadays, when I pull up stuff, I hear Tarantino talking about himself, and I'm like, well, I don't want to make movies for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's just a lack of and this is not me talking. Like some other filmmaker pointed it out. He's like, just look up a filmmaker from back then. Look how many times they talk about the audience. Look up a filmmaker now. Look how many times they say I and how little they say audience. I was like, all right. So I look it up, and I'm like, huh. He's got a little point there. And then I was like, and then, I see less craft now. Like, I see less things where I'm like, well, if you did that, flip that, that would have been better. Like The Martian.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it starts with him on Mars.
Yep.
So he's already stuck on Mars, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I'm supposed to care about this guy. Because I used to love that movie. And then I saw it, and I'm like, wait a second. I know what's wrong. Like, Castaway is essentially The Martian.
Yeah.
Guy gets stuck on an island, a planet. But we like Castaway so much, and we care for it because we have that first act where he's home. We understand that he's not making time for his life. FedEx, work. It's all work. And he's not making time for Kelly. And there's a beautiful thing with the clock. I won't get into it because it's like, how the hell do you think of that? So we care about him in that part.
Yeah.
So when it matters when he gets there, he's like, oh my gosh, he's in the land of the dead. And when he gets back, he sees he's going to make different choices. Matt Damon gets back in The Martian. He says at the end, he's like, all this stuff doesn't matter. It's just you solve one problem at a time, and if you solve enough problems, you get to the end. If you put that in the beginning, now I know what I'm watching for. Now I know what I'm caring for. I'm putting other things in there. You get him stuck on Mars, and we're like, oh, we know what this movie is about, essentially. And it proves that what he said in the beginning. So I just see a lack of craft and a lack of care for the audience from certain filmmakers. I won't mention names. I just said one of them.
You definitely.
I know. I just said what? I said Tarantino.
Fair.
I only mentioned one.
That's one.
The rest of them were like the actual craft. I said Capra and all that.
Yeah.
But that's why I watched most of those. I mean, not all of them. I like Nemo's. You can't get better than Nemo.
I think you can.
Bro.
I don't. Nemo's good. I agree. It's not even my favorite Pixar movie.
But it's not mine either. But the reason, because I don't know. There's something about Monsters Inc. for me. I think it was nostalgia mostly. But I watched it again. I'm like, oh, there's stuff in here. Like Mike just says what the point of the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's montaging, like scary feet. Oh, the kids asleep. That part.
Yeah.
He just says it. Oh wait, no, he says it. Take it back. He says it in the locker scene. He's like, you close the locker, Randall opens it, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He says in that scene, he's like, there's more to life than just scaring. Because he's like, oh, what are you going to do today, Sully? He's like, I'll probably go home, work out some more. That's what his life is. And then he meets Boo. It's inspired by Pete Docter's life, where it was work. He wants to be at work. And then you got a kid, and he's like, oh, I kind of want to be at home, too. That struggle there. But I like Coco's cool.
Yeah.
I guess it's Pixar movies. But there's a care for the audience. When you hear them talk about their interviews, Pete Docter talks about the audience. Andrew Stanton. I don't remember Brad Bird. I watched his interviews. I took notes on him. I don't remember. He most likely did. Incredibles was great.
Especially the second one.
they're pretty much
Brad Bird don't miss.
Pixar's pretty much like, I guess the only people I see doing it at least that level.
Mhm.
But Nemo's, I guess the movies I love, I can tell you why I love them. And like
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my gosh. And nowadays, like when I watch like Frasier,
Mhm.
the reason I love Frasier so much, I'm just like, oh my gosh, because I can't relate to that guy. In a
Yeah.
white, he's a radio host,
Mhm.
divorced twice, or married twice. He's rich.
Mhm.
I can't relate to any of those.
Yeah.
But I can relate to him and his father's relationship. But I just see the craft. And now, like, when I hear people in real life say things, like, right now I'm studying subtext.
Mhm.
So it looks simple. Oh my gosh. I'm just like, why does that work? I'm like, this is stupid. You know, and then you hit it and I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. But now I like hear people like say stuff. I'm like, oh, I understand that because of this, and it was set up here, and I have like a prior knowledge of that, and you add these things up. I'm just like, man. So now I watch stuff and I see those things. I'm just like, this is cool, and I see that more so in older films.
But you don't watch new films.
Nope. Okay, that's fair. The only movies I watch now are the ones we watch,
They watch together, and those are the stupid
and those are
ones.
the bad ones. And I'm just like, I have to watch Everywhere, Everything, All at Once.
Yeah.
Got that title. You see
There
that?
you go. I mean, I don't think you did.
That's an arc right there.
I don't think you did. You got close though. You got all the
Everything-
words just in the wrong order.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I think you said everywhere, everything.
Come on.
I have it on a 4K. We don't have a 4K TV though.
Yeah.
We should get a 4K TV.
But like people mention movies, and I'm just like, I'm not like I know Elvis. I know I'm not gonna like Elvis.
I don't think I would either.
I know I'm not gonna like Blonde. I don't want to
Well,
watch.
I
those
haven't heard
movies.
anybody who likes Blonde.
I've heard one person talk about it. But and then I've heard people say like, "Oh, great performance."
Yeah.
I don't like Joker.
Mm.
We've been adamant on that.
Yeah.
Shit. I can't think of another new movie. Like a lot of people mention new movies.
Pinocchio.
I gotta watch that. I'm sure.
I
That's
feel
great.
like you have a leniency, a preference for like
A certain type of
simple
movie?
simple movies. Like the message is very clear. I think for ones like that, it usually ends up being like kids movies because when you're writing for kids, they're gonna make it like they're outright gonna say shit.
Yeah, but even like
But
with
like
Pixar,
Guillermo
they
del
say
Toro
that.
is not for kids, I wouldn't say. But I think the animation that it is very simple. We definitely wouldn't say it was for kids. Not that it's inappropriate, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I think you like
Yeah.
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah. Well, it's just what I'm looking for in a movie. I just want it to be good. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is I don't want to watch 2 hours of nothing.
Yeah.
And which is what I see, like, you know, when we go to the movies.
We watch Morbius and Black Adam.
Exactly. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
And most of them try to shoehorn a point of a movie at the end. Like, this is why you watch this 2 hour movie. I'm just like, thanks for this. You can say like this profound thing at the end,
Mhm.
but if the whole movie didn't prove that, then I don't. That's empty calories right there. I'm not gonna care. You make me care. I just want to care.
Mhm.
I don't see engagement in that level, whether that's suspense or whether that's caring for an actual character, caring for the situation. It could be a small thing. It doesn't have to be like a giant like movie.
Yeah.
It can be a small thing, like a person in the hospital and their little finger moves,
Mhm.
and that can mean everything.
Yeah.
I just want to care, and I see that more in Pixar movies. And also, I want things to be clear, not like, you know, oh, that's a clear why he loves. You know, we can feel those things, but I just want it. I guess I'm talking about Christopher Nolan, like, cause Tenet was a piece of shit,
Yeah, Tenet wasn't great.
and I thought it was stupid, cause you know everyone's talking about Christopher Nolan,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, man, did I just not get this movie?
I'm really curious because I feel like a lot of his movies. We're talking about movies for like 20 minutes.
I know.
We should do a movie podcast.
Oh, you wouldn't like me.
I don't already. I'm just kidding.
What?
We'll get Jacob in here. Then we all hate each other.
That's very true.
Then our hate because we all think very differently, and so my
I guess mine's
my
different 'cause I wanna make
frustrations
'em.
would be dispersed. Anyways, what's talking about? Christopher Nolan. I haven't seen the Batman movies in forever.
Me neither.
People love them.
Especially
to
that
death.
second one.
Especially that second one. People won't shut up about it. And
I won't tell. I'm just kidding. I've never talked about that.
I'm curious because I feel like a lot of Christopher Nolan ones, especially the ones that are like remembered, are the ones like Inception, not remembered. They're all remembered. I mean, like the ones that I hear the most about
Inception,
are
Interstellar.
Inception, Interstellar, and I guess Tenet because it's recently. And those three like are like he takes a concept and he's like that's pretty cool. Like Inception's like dreams, and Interstellar is I haven't seen it, but I know it's like space time, like how space distorts time, and Tenet it's just straight up time.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've seen Tenet and Inception recently. I haven't seen Interstellar. I hear that one is good. I hear out of all of them, I hear like the least amount of arguments or debate over that.
Around
one.
Interstellar.
Yeah. I feel like everyone genuinely agrees on
Jessica
that one.
Chastain was good. I like Jessica Chastain.
I know Matthew McConaughey people liked his performance and Jessica Chastain.
I forgot
I know
his
people
name.
love the score. I think Hans Zimmer
Oh,
said
yeah.
that's his own favorite score, personally.
Did he do Iron Giant?
I couldn't tell you. But the point is that I haven't seen his movies where it's not anything about that, where it's like I think he does The Prestige, right?
He did Prestige. He did Insomnia. That's my favorite Nolan movie.
I haven't seen Prestige, but like that's like it feels more grounded, I guess, than what.
Memento.
There you go. That's why I'm curious because I want to watch Oppenheimer because I'm not familiar with the Nolan that's grounded in reality because I don't remember the Batman movies. I remember his Inception and his
That's
Tenets.
reality.
Well, I guess you're right. But I mean, like like nothing crazy is that. Nothing really that crazy aside from a man jumping around in a bat suit. Nothing really that crazy is going on. So I'm curious for how Oppenheimer plays because, as far as I'm concerned, no one really cares about Nolan unless he's doing something that Nolan
Doing those
understands.
things, yeah. And I don't know why I wouldn't want to make a movie where no one understands it. Because then my high horse would be like, well, you're too stupid to understand my movies.
Mm.
And I don't want people to feel like that. Because
I wonder if he understands his own movie.
probably not.
You know what's crazy though?
that page?
Yeah, I was about to
actually
say,
wrote
that. That shit was so stupid. I
That was
saw an
funny,
image where
man.
it was like Christopher Nolan spent 15 years drawing this image for Inception, and it was like the layers, and it was 3 layers.
I'm sure the concepts are hard though.
I'm sure it was, but also like Inception is not hard to follow at all, and that's another thing. Maybe he thought that Tenet would be easy to follow.
There's a lot of exposition in that movie.
And which one? Inception? Probably. I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh.
But I remember when I watched it like
everywhere.
a couple years ago. We're definitely living here when I watched it. I was like, that shit's easy. I was like, I got this. I know how many levels we're in.
In the bag.
It's fine. It's not that hard to
Was
understand.
there 3? I don't remember. I didn't watch it in a
I
while.
don't remember either. I remember being like, I know where we are, but I couldn't tell you. Like I could barely tell you the plot.
Whoa. I might steal his idea, but make it
But make it good.
where everyone understands.
Yeah.
Or
For
it's
Tenet or Inception?
Inception.
We should do an
I just got an
Inception thing
idea
for
for
our
that
little
stuff.
show thing with the Dreams episode we were talking about.
Oh, I don't remember Inception.
I don't either. I just mean like just do an episode about dreams.
Oh, dreams are interesting.
Dreams
But
are crazy.
back to this movie thing. I guess where I'm coming from is, for example, we're swapping stories. You're
Mhm.
like, at the end of the day, you're swapping stories. And what am I trying to say? If a friend's hurting, got laid off,
Mhm.
mom's in the hospital, something like that, you're going to try and help them. More likely than not, you're going to try and tell a story of when you went through something similar to help them. And so a story is a gift. It is like medicine. It can be medicine or poison, which is why I think Joker's poison, which is why I fucking hate the movie. And I think it's irresponsible, which is why I don't like Tarantino, because he's popularizing violence. And there's families connected to that person you just killed, but we don't talk about that. And so in Schindler's List, for example, a lot of people die in there. They die to prove a point. That even in the worst circumstances, the Schindler guy, granted he's a Nazi, you can't be, but you can be a good human in the worst circumstances like that. So you can relate that to your own life, because parable means to pair with. So it's not the story in itself that heals you and that helps you, but it's pairing that to your own experience that you're going through. So for example, if your kid's saying, "Oh man, I'm on the basketball team, but I'm still not moving up." Your dad's like, "Okay, let me take this little Aesop thing called Slow and Steady Wins the Race. Let me tell you that story." Which is why everyone remembers Tortoise and the Hare, because there's survival information there. It helps you. It teaches you how to survive. And the reason stories need conflict is because conflict is a thing we're trying to survive all the time, which is why we listen to stories, why we tell stories. There's like a theory. There's a theory. I forgot what it was called. Threat simulation theory, I think it's called. But it's like nightmares are like, the reason we have nightmares is to like play a situation that might happen in our lives so that we're prepared for it, essentially. So stories teach us how to survive, And that's not physical. So that could be physical survival, cultural survival, social survival. These are the rules of our society. Don't whatever. And emotional survival. This is what happened. This is how you deal with the loss of a mom or something like that. So, I'm learning that stuff, and I'm like, oh, stories are gifts. Stories are an act of generosity. Stories are a service, which is why I think filmmaking is like the service industry, the good movies. It's not about you. Your ego can get in the way of the work, or it'll never be transcendent like Shawshank, or E.T., or It's a Wonderful Life, Wizard of Oz. It will never be as transcendent as those movies, and those movies are classics. Wizard of Oz came out in 1939. The reason that still lasts, because their egos got out of the way. And they just were trying. Not a lot of bad crap happened on that set. I think someone died, but
They used asbestos as snow. I think almost everybody died like pretty young because of straight up poisoning.
Judy Garland died of like smoking or like
I don't
drugs.
know. But I know a lot of people on the set died early
Yeah.
because of like cancer shit. Because we're not cancer specifically, but they just got fucking sick.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That sucks.
They made a great fucking movie, and we remember that movie and their sacrifice. And I think, like I said, stories are service, and that's why, I mean, the split mask one, the freaking 90-second short I made.
Yeah.
I made that to get attention, like, to like prove myself essentially, and then I was like, and then I made other stuff like that, and then I was like, I don't want to do that anymore because that's all attention, that's ego, and I can't make really good work like that. And then Crunch Fever was my first time trying to serve something. I was like, this movie's terrible. And then I made Pen, and that's why that one's so big in my mind because it was for my dog that died.
Mm.
So I was like, that wasn't the reason I love that movie is one because of that. There was no ego involved. I was like, I want to make a movie. I want to get better, and then this is for my dog. And then that certain someone responded, but it's not even that they were. It was not even that they responded because I know you guys are gonna love most of the crap because you're my friends. You're good like that, but this person did not have to contact me. This person didn't have to contact me. Didn't have to say that, and said that I got them emotional over a pen, and I was like, did I just move someone emotionally? I was like, that's my job.
I said I kind of killed that shit.
And so I was pretty proud that day, and that's why I love that movie so much, and that's why I think it's the best thing I've ever made. Because during school, I think I got back in the ego thing, because I'm with other college kids, and I'm just like, I need to be a better screenwriter than you guys, and that's. But when I try and do good work, it's all out of an act of service and generosity, and that's why I love the movies that I love because I see most of the filmmakers who made them as it being not about them and just trying to move an audience instead of trying to get themselves attention. And that's a long way of saying why I watch older movies.
I got it. That was at least 30 minutes. We should do we should make this its own episode.
What, the movie
a
thing?
Cinema's Corner.
Cinema Corner.
We'll put it in the feed. We'll put it on the channel like we did with the Lost Files.
The Lost Files.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, honestly, like I think a lot of it, like, well, first of all, I don't think we've never had an extensive conversation about this with Jacob.
It's always just been us.
Well, mainly because I think, well, obviously we live together, so we just generally talk more with each other than we do with Jacob. But also, like, I mean, we're both artists, so we both look at it from an artist perspective. You specifically in film, and me just general like art. I mean, most of my art is drawing and animating for the game and shit, but I do like storytelling and stuff. So I think for especially the three of us, we each come from a very different, just general perspectives, and I think at the very
Jacob's just a viewer.
Exactly, Jacob's from like exactly, and it's very interesting because I think each of us like have an overlap with the other person or another person. And then, like, completely opposite in the other. You know what I mean? Like, if we were to get in a room, and let's say we did put a mic on us, talked about this for 3 hours, there would be a lot of arguing. Probably wouldn't be a very fun listen. But there would be a lot of arguing and shit. But there would be times where we would, I'll admit it, two of us would gang up on the third person. And
like Jacob saying he didn't like E.T.
Yeah.
That's...
Exactly.
I can't.
Or Jacob... or like the one time we were like we watched Jaws and Jacob was like, oh, the message was this, and we're like, that wasn't it.
What did he say?
Not
I
the
don't remember
message.
that.
No, not the message. It was.
He didn't like City Slickers. He
Fuck.
didn't like.
It wasn't the message,
Yeah.
but he said something about Jaws. We texted him. We were like, or we were talking on the group chat. We said something about Jaws, and he mentioned this, and we were like, "That's not a very good interpretation of the movie." I forgot. It wasn't the meaning. I think the meaning's pretty cut and dry. But you get what I'm trying to say. There was some sort of miscommunication. We're
Yeah.
like, "That's not it." But yeah, and then like, yeah, no, there's just like a lot of. I mean, for example, like when you watch this will come out before, but I don't. When you watch the video we make, where me and Jacob talk about movies, it's gonna come out soon. I don't fucking know when. Wait for it. You'll see a lot
End of
of.
March.
You'll see. Oh shit, we gotta film that one too. Anyways, you'll see a lot of arguing and a lot of agreeing on this on some of the same movies, and then very disagreeing on the other. The fact that like like his Bullet Train was in his bottom 5, and mine was like just right in the middle. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was alright. It was a popcorn flick, as they say. Anyways, I think that all just goes to show that like it's all very subjective, and at the end of the day, it's all just completely like. I think a lot of it is too that I think we also like aside from movies and aside from anything else, the three of us have, fucking like just like a lot of different views on like life itself, like how we each go about our daily lives,
Oh yeah.
and I think that super clearly like blends into that. Not only because like obviously like, for example, we were talking about it like the other night, like the things that make Jacob cry in a movie is different than the things that make me cry. To be fair, I cry at everything in a movie, and he only cries at a very like small amount of things. Like he said, things that are sad don't make him cry. I shouldn't really be speaking for Jacob, but I'm just repeating the things he said.
that's pretty much verbatim. Besides
Yeah.
the specific thing, I just forgot what it was.
He did say
Creed.
verbatim, sad things don't make me cry. Or that sounds maybe that makes it sound heartless. No, I mean, he means like in movies.
Who sang that song? Was that Kanye?
That was Kanye.
Damn it, man! That was a good song.
It was a good song. I'll give him.
Damn it!
I'll give the man that.
Go on. Oh man,
Um,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but like there are so many ways that like we live our day-to-day lives where I just like
That was a good one.
like I respect it, but it's like I would never, if that was my life, couldn't be me. And that very obviously like bleeds into everything, because I think at the end of the day it's like an art form, and art is like a connection to the soul, to the heart, and sorry, I got a text. And it's like a reflection of that, and so that will become evident. This has been a good talk. I do
Yeah.
want to make this a separate thing.
I also think it's different because I want to make movies,
Oh yeah, for sure.
so I want to watch ones that
Yeah, Jacob definitely
have
comes like
lasted.
from the perspective of a watcher, like you said, a viewer, an audience member.
The Watcher.
And you obviously from like
I'm the one who watches.
the
I come in from a craft perspective and a pure love for the art form
Yeah.
that I want to be in.
Yeah, I think I'm right there in the middle, because like I want to create, and like I would love to make, like I love like these ideas, like I like writing scripts to make into like videos and episodes, little short movies and stuff. Not to the point where it would be like my life's work or anything, but I mean I would love to act, to make shit. I mean just making shit at all. And I think acting is a form of that.
That's interesting.
But
Like
I'm like right in the middle.
the flexing the creative muscle. Like, for example, that's pretty much what I do. Not 24/7, but pretty much every day I'm trying to think of something creative.
Mm.
Like for class, and then when I'm not in class, I write every day trying to practice subtext. So, I'm creating in that sense. I still have a point I'm trying to prove at the end of like the little short thing. So I'm creating like every day in that sense, and for class and everything. And you're still creating, like thinking of these ideas and everything.
Yeah, I mean like I wouldn't say 24/7 either, but like when I'm bored, like at work especially nowadays, I completely forgot how boring work is when it's not holiday season, because holidays are super busy, and now that it's not, it's literally like dead, fucking ghost town in the JCPenney's. So like I'm thinking of like ideas for like the video game me and Escalators are working on, but that for the most part as of right now is just like. This is a fighting game, so it's just like moves. It's like, what would be a cool thing for this character to do when you push this fucking button? Yeah, but then I have that to flex my like creative muscle, like artistically, visually, and at that point, that's like just like what would be cool,
Yeah.
What would be cool? Because it's a fighting game. What would be cool to look at? and can I make it look cool?
Yeah.
like can I transfer it and make it look cool? That's that. But mostly, most of my creative work is spending right now on. I need to keep my mic in a good place. Is our Sploogiverse, like, because we have a lot. To be fair, when we started it, it was like, what would be funny, right? And we have a lot of characters that are from that era of like, this would be funny.
Gary Golden.
Gary Golden, Taz. Remember Taz?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it'll be funny. I'm like, yeah, it is funny.
And our characters.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole point. That was the whole point. And I do want to keep that humor, because I feel like if I just took it away, that wouldn't really be it wouldn't be it anymore. You know, it's not me. It's not us. It's not the idea. But for example, for Taz specifically, I was like, what the fuck is his point? Like, why is he here? Like, I know we had it was like an offhanded comment where like he would be Richie's like nemesis from like youth. And I'm like, but why? You know? And I recently come up with something pretty cool. I think is pretty cool. And it gives him a backstory. And even though he's not a main character, it will give him a motivation, get people to give a fuck about him.
We didn't do a clap sync.
Go ahead, sorry. That's funny. Oh man. Let's do one real quick. Yeah, that's all right.
That's really funny.
That's so
that
funny.
still works.
What?
Would that work at the end if you just like?
Yeah, I mean, when I put it up, I just follow it there. I just gotta remember.
That's really.
I'm gonna be like, where the fuck? But yeah, so like I imbued like some heart, and it's like that's what it is, because for that it's writing, and I think like the storytelling is a lot more natural for me. Mainly, like I said earlier, I don't have a visual thing in my head, so I can do that. Like that stuff for the video game and stuff has to come out when I got a tablet in front of me, or a piece of paper or whatever. But yeah, no, like I'm creating like all the time. Like I want these characters to like, I do want them to be funny. Like that's not my priority, but I do want them to be funny. Well, not them specifically, but, you know, like the whole story. Like it's like I think it's possible to do like a stupid concept, like a funny concept, but imbue like heart into it, right? I think there are plenty of people nowadays that do that pretty well. I think Taika Waititi does that, except for Thor: Love and Thunder. I think James Gunn does that, only in his comic book movie stuff. I don't like his older stuff. I think the Daniels did that perfectly with Everything Ever All at Once, and they did that with Swiss Army Man too. Those are probably like my biggest inspirations. But like, yeah, so like it's easy to do like obviously we're taking a group of heroes who are fucking like a person who's super speed but can only run for 15 feet. A guy who can only control belts. Like that's so dumb. But we've come up with these backstories, or at least you and I have, and like motivations and stuff. And like they're from places within us, stories that we want to tell that we just have inside of us. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's where you and I agree on like movie stuff. Like, I think it's definitely on a fundamental level. I mean, I feel like it's obvious. It doesn't really need to be said, but it's very obvious that art, like to make it. I feel like there are very few movies where people have worked on it and they can really say that they didn't care. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to do that, because it's a long fucking process, you're gonna have to care at least, not even a little bit. You have to care a pretty decent amount to start it and to fucking go through with it. And that's why people drop out of projects a lot. You know what I mean? So I think we can definitely agree like that, like the heart. Put in the art and heart, you know what I mean?
We want to make something good. You just want to make something good.
Exactly. And I think that's. I mean, I think everybody wants to make something good. It's just a matter of what people think are good. And at the end of the day, that's just what it is. It's all subjective, unfortunately.
I had a thought. Oh, and I took the Gary Golden thing, and I was like, I want to make this like a feature-length thing. Mm. And I was writing that, and then last semester, you know, school happened, and I was like, well, there goes that notebook. Well, close that. But I stripped away most of the. I kept
just the goofy stuff.
I stripped some of the goofy stuff just because it was like an origin movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Willie can't be in here. Her dog can't be in here. We got to introduce the milk truck. We got to introduce.
Excuse me.
Pluto. Video. Got to introduce. Yeah, but what Bogart's in there. Yeah. They're hostages. On the planet, but I created these robots for it. Created a giant snake monster. I basically took what our origin was, but took away everything because I was like, well, I need something to say with with
Mhm.
him, and then he had great fear of a lot of things. And then the whole point was no fear is stronger than your purpose, and the whole thing came back. I didn't have the second act done, but it was pretty much mostly done. But I took that and I stripped away most of that. But the reason I brought this up is because I think it's interesting how we're working on creative stuff like that, but Jacob's not very in a creative medium.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, I noticed this when we first started the Sploogiverse things, and we were thinking of our characters and all that one night. I remember Jacob was so excited. He's like, "Oh, I want to talk about, like he's like, I just want to do this, like, to come up with these things."
Yeah.
I think it's just because he doesn't have a lot of time in school and being a CA to like have
Take a
projects to
chance.
be creative.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's another thing. Like that's why like sometimes like I don't know. That's another thing because like I feel like with art, it's really hard to like. You could definitely like you can put everything into it, and it can. I'm not gonna say objectively, but it can turn out to be a very good end result, a good movie, short film, book, whatever the fuck you're doing, right? Um, and people will just not like it because that's just how the world works. People just won't like things. Um, but also at the same time, people will like it. People can like it, but completely misconstrue it. Like that's a pretty popular thing. For example, like the movie American Psycho. Me and Jake are gonna watch it tonight. It's playing on Tuesday Night Classics at Harkins. Um, but there's like the idea of like the Sigma male, and they use Patrick Bateman as like the idol. But the movie is written to like as specifically as like a satire to make fun of those people, to make fun of that kind of person, and they don't see that. And it's these people who like these men who like are like they think by being like a loner that makes them above everybody because they're like a lone wolf kind of thing, and they're so suave and shit, and they hate women. But the movie's directed by a woman, or like Fight Club. I'm like, or like for example, The Matrix is like completely like an allegory for like being trans. I mean, the Wachowski were now sisters at the time, were brothers, right? It was just coming from them, like from their heart, and like there's just like, and it sucks, but I to an extent like I'm like not like fine with it because it does suck because people often misconstrue good things to fuel bad stuff that they do, right? But like I feel like I genuinely do agree to a core like art is just as much what you get out of it as what someone else puts into it, and that's why like at the end of the day, even though you won't know anything about art, people who watch it will just take it however they want to take it, and that could be end up being like the main interpretation, or people who are smart and it's not. You know what I mean? And I think that's the the best thing about it is that you can put everything you want into it and make it as true to yourself as you can. But once it's out there, like that's you don't have any control anymore. And in a way, I think that's beautiful because a lot of times people will just like you said, that's what makes things like relatable. Like people can just bring it to them. That's why I think I'm like when people do like what's called like head canons and stuff. Like I think this is what happens after the movie ends, and in my mind, this is what's going on. That's fine. That's awesome. As long as it's not like weird. As long as it's not like people do some weird illegal ideas with that stuff. None of that. But you know what I
None
mean.
of that, please.
Like I think artistic interpretation is like super important. And that's why I think it's like a balance of things where it's like there's definitely a message here, and sometimes there are things that can be a little open ended, and I think that's nice. I think that's the best thing about art, in my opinion, and any medium, is just that idea of like it's just as much what people get out of it as much as you put into it. So you can put in whatever you want, but someone will get something out, and it could be great or it could not be great. And I think that's nice. And that's why I think like if you just like do your best to create like real situations, even if it's in like real ideas and feelings in non-real situations work too. Just like real emotions, somebody will get something out of it because I think people just naturally will gravitate towards emotion. I think that's what humans do.
And I think that's why it's silly when people take it out of the emotion and into the head of like, oh, this is a movie that makes you think.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in movies that make me think.
I get what you're saying.
I want to cry at E.T. I cried at The Craft one time. Like, during the climax of the part, I was just like, how did you do this?
This climax really hit.
It was crazy. Like, the music was happening. They were, like, getting E.T., to the ship.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. Same thing happened at the beginning of Wizard of Oz. Like, the movie just started, And I read the script like before I watched it. 'Cause, I watched it before, but I didn't know what I was looking at. And then, but I read the script, and that script was a pain to read because it was a different format than what we're used to now.
Mm-hmm.
So like what the dialogue was, what was there's like the action description and then the dialogue. So like that's what's happening, and then this happens. Wait. Like as they just put like all the action that was happening, and then they put the dialogue after that. So you gotta like, as you're reading, you have to remember what you just read of like, oh, she's doing this while she's saying that.
Yeah, yeah.
It was weird, but
That's weird.
read the script, and then I watched the movie with my mom. Yeah, she went with me. It was a Tuesday night classic. I was like, I'll gladly go to that. And the beginning started, and I was seeing the first act, and how no one's noticing what's going on, and I'm seeing the mechanics behind it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is no one does this anymore. Like it was within 5 minutes you related to the character, and you understood her plight and what she was going through, and all that it was crazy. I was like, this movie's special. It was crazy. And she's in her own land of the dead. Oz. Things aren't as they seem. Trees talk.
They do.
Animals act like humans. It was insane. Great movie. If you want to watch any
watch any movie from 1939?
watch Wizard of Oz. You want to watch any movie from 1942? Watch It's a Wonderful Life. That one's insane too. It starts off without a crazy. You want to watch any recent good movie? Go watch Nemo. Dude, Nemo's insane. I just described it to Jacob. He's just kind of okay. And I was like, bro, this movie's crazy.
Like you said recently, you said it's like 2001 or something, 2003.
Oh, I thought it was 2006. You're right. Go watch Jojo Rabbit.
That was a good one.
I agree. That's recent.
That's one of my favorites. It's in my favorites list on Letterboxd.
I gotta watch that again.
So was the Lego movie though. So
What's wrong with the Lego movie?
nothing.
I forgot about that.
I just feel like that would invalidate a lot of people's opinion. And I have a friend.
I thought it blew up because like everyone's like, oh, that's a good movie.
I know. I have a friend. I have two friends. My friends that have made a JCPenney that I'm trying to get closer to. I mentioned that I like Ringo. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? That movie sucks. That's a terrible movie. And I said, no, you just don't get it.
Ringo.
And then like one of them has a same argument every time that I mention it. She's like, what the fuck is that little goldfish doing in the desert? I'm like, who cares? She's like, why is a turtle a mayor? Or yeah, I was like, well, who cares? It's a cartoon movie. You don't question why all this shit. Like, it's like that's the suspension of belief that you have to have when you walk into a fucking animated movie. Anyways,
that was animated.
Ringo?
Were there no humans in there?
There was, but not like real humans.
Oh,
The whole movie was mocapped and then they animated on top of
Okay.
that. That's why it feels so real.
Okay. It just sounded funny. Like that's why it feels so real. It's just funny you said that, but man, I had a thought.
Anyways,
but that's good. That's good craft. Like if they
Ringo.
does it start with when we see him like talking or something?
The first shot is him talking in the tank.
Okay, because I mean, some people just whatever they just like you said they just don't like things because they don't like them.
Exactly.
But like craft wise, the reason that works is because it's one of the first things you establish within the first act.
Yeah.
So for example, you understand why Marlin's such an ass. Not an ass.
Such an asshole.
He's so
Rat
overprotective of Nemo because we have that outer boundaries of this is what happened to him, his wife. No shot with a barracuda. That barracuda was eaten.
Yeah.
That barracuda was eaten.
Yeah, he can do.
No one can do anything. But dude, that little thing, I had like 36 notes in that like opening thing. I was like, this movie's insane. Anyway, that movie's so. If anyone want to watch Nemo, we actually can't do, like one of those
watch-alongs.
I would just be talking the entire time. Like this is why this works.
That's fine. Give my vocal cords a rest.
Bro, it's crazy.
I mean,
that movie's so good. I'd be like, this is an important setup right here. Watch this.
Uh-huh.
And then like the climax, I'm like, this is why that worked. Anyway,
you know what I would like to see you
that
do?
movie's so crazy.
I would like to see you do. Who does it on YouTube?
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
No, like those videos on YouTube. It's like one of those Vanity Fair, one of those websites like on YouTube, and like they'll get a director and sometimes with the actor
with
in the
the,
scene.
like, pen
And
on
they,
the-
yeah.
yeah.
Why don't you do that with one of your movies?
My movies?
Yeah. Why would I want to see you do it over someone else's movie?
I could explain Nemo.
I know you could, but I wouldn't give a fuck. I don't have any emotional connection to Nemo. I just watched it as a kid so much that the disc got scratched.
That's pretty good. I'd do it over pen. I wouldn't do it over anything else. Pen would be the
I
good
want you to do it over. We should do that, you and I, over Proton Continuum.
one.
That would be fucking
There'd be no
funny.
notes besides just...
So I think this would be pretty funny.
I'd do it
Part
over
of this
pen.
sound effect.
I could describe that one.
Now onto the
in terms of
bloopers.
the craft wives. Onto the... Oh, there's like, what, 30 seconds of that?
Yeah. But anyways, back to my friends, right? Whoops. So we later mentioned when I was in Phoenix with them, I was at one of their cousins' house, and something about movies came up, and then my friend was like, "Oh, but he likes Rango, so his movie opinion's invalid." And then his cousin was like, "What, dude? Rango's a masterpiece.
You're whack."
And then like that, his cousin's husband was like, "Yeah, dude, that movie's fucking awesome."
You're whack.
And then his cousin was like, "You the one who said that Morbius was better than the Batman this year?" And I said, "What?" I was like, "You have the balls to tell me that my movie opinions are bad. I hope he sees this one day."
That's crazy.
That's fucking crazy. And I don't even know why I brought that up, but that's just crazy. We're talking about movies.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
insane. Rango's
yeah.
great.
Outer Boundaries. So the reason that Nemo thing works is because of the Outer Boundaries. So the reason
Rango.
Rango.
The
So
Outer Boundaries is he loves acting and being someone he isn't.
okay. So the Outer Boundaries.
Which is great because he's a chameleon. He's actively able
Chameleon.
to... Exactly.
Chameleon. That's what it is. Sorry.
M. Night Shyamalan.
That's right.
That's my favorite
But
director.
the Outer Boundaries is the outermost you're gonna expect people to believe. So if you have, for example, let's say a chameleon talking and walking on
With
two
on
legs,
a Hawaiian shirt.
you show that in the beginning of the movie, which is why you buy that. That's why when someone tells you a joke, a duck walks into a bar, they're just like, okay, then what? You don't spring at
You know,
to
like
them halfway through the joke.
What's the duck going in the bar for?
Yeah, and then you're like, what? When did the animals start talking? If you like, we're reading the
What kind of La La Land
which
shit
one's
is
the
this?
Three Little Bears? The
Goldilocks?
Goldilocks. If you're reading Goldilocks, you're like, when did the bears start talking? That's
do the
not
bears eat
proper
porridge?
construction.
Why do the bears need
Yeah.
beds?
Yeah, and also that the Rango thing is a theme beats logic. So Billy Wilder famously said to his writing partner IAL Diamond. Sorry, bro. He said, "Don't give me logic, give me emotion." So we will buy things if we not just because they're logical, whatever, or rational, but if we believe them. That's why you're like, well, Bugs Bunny doesn't look like a rabbit actually looks,
Yeah.
but we believe he's a rabbit.
It's got the big
That's what
ears.
Chuck Jones saying.
Yeah.
Daffy Duck doesn't look like a duck, but we believe he's a duck.
Yeah.
I had a thought with that. Oh, that's why we buy the goldfish thing and the other stuff in Rango because we believe it. It's not just logic like, oh,
Yeah.
well, a duck will never. Why? When did they start pointing? When did bears
Yeah.
start
Why
pointing
is that
towards?
turtle-
Hold on a
Why is
second.
that turtle in a wheelchair?
It's like what?
Or
Just kidding.
tortoise. Whatever he is.
Anyway, all that to say,
Water, Mr. Rango. Water.
the good movies know how to do
You
that.
control the water.
That's why when they showed Nemo,
You control everything.
the internal screenings they had at Pixar. They show like to them and like maybe some other family members.
Yeah.
Like before them, to see if the movie's working. These test screenings. Original Nemo wasn't good because they hated Marlin. They're like,
Mhm.
why is this guy such like an overprotecting asshole? And they had Andrew Sand had flashbacks, in between throughout the movie. That's far too late for us to give a damn about this guy. And so they put it at the beginning, the whole thing in the beginning. Now it works. Now you care, and now you have an emotional response when Nemo says, "I hate you," because we know in the Outer Boundaries, Marlin says, "What if they don't like me?" And then Coral kind of gives it like an off comment, like, "Marlin, there's over like 400 eggs. One of them's bound to like you." And then she swims up to her little thing.
Yeah.
Then they like chase each other around, and then she dies. But
Chaser has 8.
yeah, what?
Chaser
Oh.
has 8.
Yeah, but not by Marlin.
No, she doesn't get her ass ate. She
But,
doesn't get her ass ate. She gets her.
all that to say, you should watch Nemo, watch Rango, watch
Watch Rango. Watch the Lego Movie.
watch The Apartment. I just threw that one in there.
Okay, let me throw one in there. Watch. I got another.
Don't watch any M. Night Shyamalan movies.
Unless. Nope. Couldn't think of one.
I couldn't think of one either.
Didn't he do the like Glass and Split and all those? He did the first one, didn't he? Is that not him?
He,
Like Unbreakable?
He did Split. Yeah, I think he did Unbreakable too.
Did he do Glass?
He probably did.
He probably rounded
Um,
out the trilogy. I heard those are fine. Jacob likes them, but then again,
It's just I don't know. It's just for me. This is my thing. Back then, because you see this like when people like watch Star Wars, they're like, "Oh my gosh."
this shit sucks.
Yeah. Okay. Like people like say Shawshank. Like Grace, her favorite movie is Shawshank. She's like that movie's great.
Yeah.
And like my dad, like he's an average movie. He watches the movies.
He's your average Joe.
Yeah. He's gonna watch like the Marvel movie, the Star Wars movie, whatever.
Yeah. Respectable.
Yeah, and he's watched some movies that I'm like, Dad, have you seen this movie? He's like, yeah, and I'm like, bro, that's a good movie. For example, like I brought up Nemo. He's like, oh, Nemo, that's a good movie. People will just say that, like
Yeah.
that's a good movie. They don't
Yeah.
argue about it. They don't like say like that was all right.
it's a good movie.
Yeah.
And that happened more back then. People saying that. Because I've seen people saying, and I've seen like, the audience reactions when they're at the theater. Like, oh my gosh, Indiana Jones was crazy.
Yeah.
Nowadays, because I've seen it within myself and other people, when you walk out of a theater, like, well, that was 2 hours. I watched a movie today. That was good.
Yeah.
And like people are like trying to manipulate themselves into thinking that what they watched was good and what they
Yeah.
paid for was good. And I'd just rather be like, I just got my mind blown,
Mhm.
and or like I wasn't even here for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then that was good because it sounds like you don't believe that.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not watch Bullet Train and be like, well, that was 2 hours, instead of
Yeah.
watching Shawshank, which is 2 hours, and be like, bro, my life has changed. That's the movies I watch. Or that's, why I don't watch Bullet Train. But I can understand why you would want to watch Bullet Train. Because, you're not trying to do what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. I think this is where it comes in. Where like I said, I'm in the middle of you and Jacob. I think this is where it comes. The part of me that comes in that's like I just want to be. I guess this is the part of me that's the audience member because
Entertainment?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I watched Bullet Train. At first, I saw the trailer and I was like, it looks like a fun action movie.
Yeah.
It looks like he fights people for 2 hours. Well, that's what I imagine John Wick is like. I've never seen John Wick.
Every time I touch a gun, someone dies. I'm like, thanks, bro. Who wrote this shit? No, I'm just kidding.
And like, I was like, that seems fun.
Bullet Train.
And then I'll be honest, like it came out, and then I saw a bunch of people on like the internet, like TikTok and shit.
Yeah.
They were like this shit made me cry, and I'm like, they were like quoting the movie.
West Side Story.
And exactly. And what? Oh, because it made you cry. That guy was sobbing back there.
It was crazy. The new one, not the old one.
Yeah, the old one sucks.
Love Spielberg. What? What are we talking about? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. What were we talking about? Oh
Bullet
yeah,
Train,
people said they
crying.
really liked it, right? They said it was emotional and blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what? I wanted to watch an action movie. I'm gonna get that for sure. And if there's a bit of heart in there, then so be it. Did I cry? No. Did I tear up? Oh my god.
We're recording, bro. Come back in like an hour. So,
Get the door from.
I just wanted you to keep talking.
So like, what was I saying? What was I talking about, Raymond?
Bullet Train, people crying.
Oh, Bullet Train. Yeah, no. So did I cry? No. Did I tear up? Probably did. But like the things that people said were emotional, I agree. It was emotional. I definitely did care about some of the characters. Some of the characters in the trailer that were in the trailer were literally in the movie for not even 10 seconds. And that's fine. What am I getting? Anyways, I just
You're in between.
yeah, this is the part where I think generally I'm in between. I think this is the part where I lean towards being just an audience member because sometimes
You can move it,
I
Jacob.
do-
This is not going in the actual pod.
oh, it's not.
It'll be a separate thing.
We're gonna separate release. We've been talking an extra hour about movies. So like I still I'm still like a big Marvel head. I've watched all the Disney Plus shows and all the movies, and I will continue to do so until I am no more. And and am I gonna sit here and tell
Quite
you
frankly,
that
I am
the
not.
last year of Marvel movies was cinema? Of course not.
Far from.
Far from.
Especially
Doctor
Iron
Strange: The
Man.
Multiverse of Madness was downright average.
I heard one of the advisors was like, she has a kid,
Oh.
has a husband. Naturally, she has to go to the movies and watch it.
Naturally.
And so she was telling me yesterday, like, she doesn't really care for the Marvel movies.
Mhm.
And she was like, but Iron Man was good. I was like, I agree. And then she was like, but my favorite of the newer release ones that I thought was really good was Doctor Strange, the second one. And then I just kind of like looked at the computer screen as if it was the camera, and looked back at her because she was still talking.
hit her with the gym face.
That's literally what I do on a basis. Anyway, go on.
But yeah, no, like I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it's cinema. Did I really enjoy?
Sorry.
Thor: Love and Thunder was less than average, below average.
I
would say.
bet. It looked bad.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I genuinely enjoyed it. I would say it was above average. I wouldn't say
Looked
it was
emotional.
fantastic, and it was. I was crying first 10 minutes, not 10, like 5.
I feel like that's because of what actually happened in real life. Then
Oh yeah,
it definitely charts
yeah,
from that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can't deny that at all.
That's why I love that song. Lift Me Up.
Yeah,
Bro.
that was good.
She's good.
She's
She's back. Rihanna's back.
but like, at a certain point, like I can't deny that. Like at some point, I don't really care about anything more than like how it makes me feel, And honestly, when I put on a Marvel movie, at worst, I'm mildly entertained, and at best, at best, I'm like crying and laughing along, and I'm having a blast, and I'm remembering why these are the characters that built me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I go back and I watch the Guardians movies. I watch the first Iron Man, pretty much any Spider-Man movie, except for maybe the TASM 2 one.
Let's be honest.
But like this, I'm like, this is why they like built me. At worst, I mean, I don't know what's the worst Marvel movie I've seen. Probably like Dark Phoenix.
That. Have you seen Apocalypse? That wasn't.
We've seen Apocalypse. This was not as bad. Dark Phoenix was pretty unbearable.
Dark Phoenix.
Morbius wasn't even that bad. Morbius was just down. Actually, it was pretty entertaining because we were just laughing
TASM
at it.
2's up there too. TASM 2's up
for
there.
sure,
I don't
for
know
sure.
what Thor is on that list.
Love and Thunder. Pretty.
Yeah.
The first 2 Thor movies are not as bad as I remember. Thor 4.
What was the second Dark
Bad.
one?
Anyways, I'm gonna start wrapping this up because Jacob's here and I'm gonna spend time with my buddy Jacob. But basically, all I'm saying is, hi Jacob.
Alright, don't let me take away from this.
Shut up.
Sorry, we talked about you quite a bit.
Yeah, we talked about you a lot. You're gonna like
Kind-
this episode.
Kind of.
All good things. Well, actually, no. We weren't really complimenting you, but we weren't insulting you,
Okay.
which will be a nice change of pace for you listening to this podcast.
Definitely.
I feel like.
Did we insult him?
I feel like. I mean, I brought up the
Listen,
ET thing.
Yeah. Well, that's just you just mentioned his opinion. He respects his own opinion. You have your own opinion. That's why he has an opinion.
Yeah.
You gotta respect your own opinion. Anyways, my point is that these characters, whether like how well written or not they are, I can still feel the emotion. Like I can watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I can feel where Stephen Strange is coming from with the whole what's the flower? Christine.
Christine.
Yeah.
I love Christine.
Yeah, I can feel that, even
I
though the
love
movie's
Christine.
not great.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Rachel McAdams.
Oh yeah, love Rachel McAdams. Love The Notebook. You ever seen The Notebook?
No.
Gotta love it.
Love the Notebook.
Do you?
I do.
Okay. Anyways, I don't care like how much of other bullshit that I don't hear about is in it. I can still see me personally. I can still see the emotion, and I can still feel it. And that very well could be because I felt it back when I was younger in the first Doctor Strange, and I felt it continuously watching him into Infinity War and Endgame or whatever. But I still feel it, even if it's not a great movie. And like for example, on Letterboxd, I probably gave it like what 3.5 stars. And there are a bunch of movies that I gave not 3.5 stars, and I'm like, that's like miles ahead of that one. But that's just why I don't like ranking shit. But anyways, I think I can see the emotion in things because, like I said, I think it's all about like. And then you go on TikTok, and you see all these people making like fan edits, and people are like sobbing, and I'm like, this is why people make movies. I'm like, I don't care if I didn't like Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie made this person cry. It didn't for me, but
Far from.
But I mean, I respect it. And like, actually, you know what? That's not true. I think I did tear up. I didn't full on cry though. Talk about full on crying. My mask and Everything Everywhere All at Once, drenched. Had to throw it away. But yeah. So that's just like I think that part of me is just like completely like, not necessarily even for entertainment. Like that's just like an enjoyer. Like, and that's why I think like when I'm doing like my Sploogiverse stuff, like I am trying to do like a whole story from the first issue to what I would plan to be the last. But there are it's just not impossible to do that with every character that we have because I have, you know, a lot of arcs planned. And so I just focus on like writing real experiences into these fake characters and however absurd the situation is, however absurd the character is. And I mean, Lord knows if one or maybe even 100 people, God willing, reads the fucking thing. They'll sense that, you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, out of the movies that I considered pretty bad this year, they weren't even like terrible. Like, what was my bottom one? Gray Man? It was just boring. And that was no. I don't remember any emotion. I didn't feel shit.
Well, that's the worst thing a movie can be.
Exactly.
Besides boredom.
Boredom?
Did you not feel bored?
That's what I'm saying. The worst thing a
Oh.
movie can be is boring and forgettable. But yeah, I think that's where like that's where that part of me I think is like. There's one part that's like, I'm not gonna say the craftsman because this isn't my craft, but you know, like respecting things, and like how they're made and like what they make me feel, and then at some point like I can see it back and be like, this was a fine movie, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'll be honest, I don't got much else going on in my life. I'm not really wasting time watching 2 hours of Bullet Train. I wasn't gonna do shit with that 2 hours.
That movie's 2 hours.
I don't know. I'm just saying
Oh.
because in my mind, all movies are 2 hours, unless they're Avatar, then they're 5.
No, it's not.
I'm just saying my mind exaggerates
Oh,
that. Like, for example, like 2 hours, I'm like, that's fine. But then I'm like, you want me to watch the Avatar for 2.5? Go fuck yourself.
Most Marvel movies are that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I don't know why my brain just works that way. It doesn't work, quite frankly. But yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
We could do this again. Maybe Jacob will join us next time. He shook his head. He said, well, anyways, let's cut back to the Critters Corner here. Hey, what's
What
up,
do you
guys?
mean?
Well, because I'm going to cut that out and put it in its own thing.
When did the Critters Quarter end?
I don't know. We're going to find out in editing. I mean, I'm going to find out in
So
editing.
what are we talking about right now?
Movies. We talked about movies
No.
for an hour.
What did you say when you like cut back to?
Well, so I'm going to cut back and say a message. Be like, we talked for another hour.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me do my thing.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Let him cook.
you just didn't. I'm just kidding.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to A Critters Corner.